Hey, what's going on, guys? Y'all already know who this is, man. This is Aston Williams coming to you again with another amazing episode of the Melanated Travelers podcast. We are on episode 31, man. We're going to keep this train rolling. But before I get started, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this episode today. I want to give a shout out to going.com. So going.com, it used to be Scott's Chief Flights, where you can go on there and be able to set up your different airports. You can set up to, like, if the free version sets up to like 3 different airports and it sends you all type of travel deals on a daily basis. They switched over their company name to going.com now, and they're sponsoring this episode. I want to give them a shout out because it's an amazing website where you're able to find great travel deals at great prices. And also they let you know in advance, right? They let you know the times that you need to book, when the book, the airline is absolutely amazing. So shout out to going.com for sponsoring this episode today. Without further ado, we have an amazing guest in the building. I have Miss Keila Delacruz. How are you doing
Hola.
today, Queen? How are you
I'm
doing?
doing amazing. I'm doing amazing. How are you?
Great, great, great. AKA, we're gonna get into the socials, AKA Life with Keilamaria.
That's right.
So to give her a little bio, I just want y'all to kind of get a vibe of her and to give her all flowers when it's due. Before I even get into your bio, first and foremost, I truly love your content,
Thank you.
but we're gonna dive deeper into it because I love your content because your content is not just travel; it's also based on, you know, has a sense of spirituality in it with a strong sense of faith that truly gravitated to me as a fellow Christian as well. I truly gravitated to your content. So again, I just wanted to see. I didn't tell you that outside
You
the
did
studio. I
it.
wanted to wait until we got into the episode, and that's what drew me to your content. I love your authenticity. Looking at your content, and when I say this, is not a knock at any other creator or travel creators, but most people are doing the same thing, right? They either stealing the idea or they're not being true to themselves and being authentic, and that's
Mhm.
not what I see with you. Your content, the way you go about laying out your profile, the way you go about laying out your content is absolutely amazing. So I just want to
Thank you.
let you know that I truly enjoy your content. So without further ado, she's an entrepreneur, right, and content creator, and also she's a corporate girl,
Yeah, yeah.
who still finds the time in that busy lifestyle to prioritize travel, even with a busy schedule, right? She's Afro-Latino, and we're gonna dive deeper into that cultural background. She's from NYC, and for those that don't know, the Big Apple, New York City, home to so many different legends. And the thing about her, she was exposed. Her being Afro-Latina truly exposed her to different cultures at an early age, which we're going to dive into as well. So again, Miss Kale, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I think what you're doing is amazing. You don't really see a lot of people that look like us when we travel, or a lot of people that look like us being highlighted. So the fact that you created this platform for us is commendable, and I'm just super grateful and happy to be here. So thank you.
Well, thank you. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I always like to start off with the mindset for those that have been following the show and listening, for this long. I always like to start off with the mindset first. What created that bug, that travel bug? What created that? And we can dive, if you want to dive deeper into your cultural background now. I want to give you that time and opportunity. But what sparked that interest in you to say, you know what, the world is it's not just one page. It's not just New York City. It's just not Chicago. It's just
Mhm.
not these other cities. I want to explore the world. What sparked that in you?
So for starters, my mom's from Puerto Rico. My dad is from the Dominican Republic. So I grew up traveling back and forth from New York City to the Caribbean. And I loved everything that involved traveling, getting ready, packing, going to the airport. And ever since I was a young girl, it's crazy because I was probably like 11, 12 years old, writing down my bucket list, all the countries that I wanted to visit. And then growing up in New York, you meet people from all over the world, and it just sparked that interest. I was always like, oh, well, how do you guys dance and eat in your culture, in your country? And as I got older, I was like, you know what? I don't have to stay in one place. I started working at an early age, started saving, and I think it's very important to prioritize what you loved. And I said, travel can be accessible for me. So I just started prioritizing it and went to explore the world. I didn't want to read it in magazines. I didn't want to see all these places on TV. I wanted to go in person, and that's how I started traveling.
Wow, wow, that's absolutely amazing. So, being from two different, it's that's I want to dive deep into that dynamic because some
Hmm.
people, mom's from Texas, dad's from Louisiana, is different cultures, and like, what was it like? What was it like growing up in a household with two different, Latin cultures?
So my parents were married and they got a divorce. So I was mainly raised with my mom, but growing up, I still saw my dad. And I was raised, getting to know my Puerto Rican and my Dominican side. To be honest, it was dope. Like, I am so proud of my cultures. I'm proud of my people. I'm proud of their resilience. We have so much pride in who we are, what we do. Growing up, the rule at home was English in school, Spanish at home. So that was cool too. I'm super grateful that my parents installed that in us. And we used to travel back and forth to the Caribbean all the time. So I never felt like I'm 100% on this side or 100% on that side. I was always right in the middle. And just growing up, being able to compare the two, and everywhere I went, I would be proud to tell them I'm Puerto Rican and Dominican. And everybody's like, oh, that's so cool. How is it like? So, yeah, I really, really loved it.
Right. Afro-American, Afro-Latina. I've had some conversations with my friends, and I want to bring this up now. Since we're talking about it,
Hmm.
is the representation. And I just got back from Cali earlier. I went to Colombia, favorite country, by the way. For everybody that's listening and watching, they know this by now.
We know.
Colombia, Colombia is my favorite. I always give it a shout out, literally every episode. But anyway, I was in Cali, and we was having a conversation about it, and just from a representation standpoint. And honestly, I have a few friends that uh, they prefer are very proud to be Afro Latina.
Yeah,
There's other terms that some people get offended by. They don't. Negrito, negrita.
yeah, yeah.
To just be proud of your heritage. I'll give you an example, right? So I got a few friends from Cuba right now. For those that don't know, I'm in Nebraska right now. In like on the outskirts of Omaha, and what they was telling me in Cuba, it's it's a lot of classism and
Yeah,
racism in Cuba when it comes
yeah.
to your color. Um, how was that growing up? Were you always welcome in the community? Well, honestly, New York is very diverse, and I would be surprised, but
Mm-hmm.
I also don't want to tell your story for you. So how was it, growing up and not only being Latina but also being a black woman?
Yeah, for starters, I'm glad that you mentioned that because I am extremely proud of being Afro-Latina. There was a point, many years back that being a brown skin or dark skin Latina we were looked at as less beautiful or less attractive, less capable of doing stuff, or you weren't even considered Latina. So now it's like it's a movement, and I'm so proud of that movement. I'm proud of my features. I look more towards the African side. If you look at me, most people growing up, they thought I was straight black, until I
Mhm.
started speaking. So I learned how to embrace my features, my curves, my thighs, everything. I look more Afro. So growing up, it wasn't until like I got to high school that it felt a little weird because sometimes I felt like I was too brown skinned to be considered Puerto Rican, but also I went to a trade school, so I took cosmetology, and I remember some of the African American girls in excuse me in class, they were like, well, you're not black. I'm like, girl, I am. Just because I speak Spanish, it does not mean I'm black. I'm black. So it was like, dang, where do you fit in? So you kind of get it from both ways. But like I said, as I got older, I was just like, no, I'm embracing who I am. I'm super proud of my features, how I look, how I talk, where I'm from. And I just think you have to have that inner confidence, and it does not matter what anyone else says or thinks of you.
I'm glad that you brought that up. And if people get offended by what I'm about to say, it's okay. That's not the right podcast for you. But it's a difference between being it's a difference between race and ethnicity, people. It's a big difference between race and ethnicity, people. You can be black and be French. You can be black and be from an African country. You can be, you can be Kenyan. You can be Afro, you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
Salvadorian, right? Which I,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
early days of being getting on the show, I actually had an episode about Afro descendants in El Salvador. It's a difference
Yeah.
between race and ethnicity, guys. I'll say it one more time.
Absolutely.
It's a difference between race and ethnicity. That's two different
For sure.
things. Thank you very much. It just
Yeah.
so
People
happens
always
that
get
her
it confused.
primary language, it just so happens that her primary language is Spanish, right?
Yeah.
And she's black. That's it.
Exactly. Like
She's still a
literally,
black woman.
Dominican Republic and Haiti was all one. Like there's a town in DR that you can visit. You can have a foot in Haiti and a foot in DR. I'm like, it does not make us different. We're literally the same, you know.
Wait, speaking of that. Well, you know, something else I know. This just me, and if I'm wrong, correct me. But it seemed like there's always some beef there
Always,
between Haitians and Dominicans,
always,
and I
always.
feel like certain areas of Dominican Republic does not want to classify, and they're just as
Hmm.
dark as us, but they
Yeah.
won't classify as being black. I don't understand.
If we're being
No, I'm
honest,
Dominican.
like, yeah, if we're being honest, like, there's this town called Santiago. They're a little bit more light skinned. Where my family and I are from, we're from Jaina, which we're like 25 minutes from Santo Domingo, which is the capital. We're more on the darker side. So when you go visit Cibao and Santiago, they look at you like, it's almost like they think they're a little better than you because they are very light skinned. They have the long blonde hair, they have the color eyes. And I'm like, bro, like we're all Dominicans. Like you're not better than
Mm-hmm.
me, you know. But yeah,
Facts.
you're absolutely right. There are some areas in the country, which I think that's just about every country, if I'm being honest. But even in Puerto Rico, there's a town called Loiza. People are much darker there. Versus San Juan, they're a little bit lighter. So there's also that like, oh, you're Puerto Rican? Yes, we're literally mixed. We have Afro in us. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a
A
matter
lot
of
of people,
education. A lot of
a
people are
lot of
not
people, a lot
educated.
of people that have not traveled outside of America, y'all do know that those slave ships didn't just land in America. It's called the
Okay, period.
Atlantic slave trade for a reason, people.
Literally,
Yeah, we're gonna
literally.
leave it at
It was
that.
several stops. We just got dropped off in different stops.
Yeah, but moving on. So what exactly, like, what was the first, like, what was your first international country destination that you went to that kind of got this train going?
So let's not count DR, right? Because I'm from there. So I like to say I had two first time experiences. The first one was Jamaica. I absolutely fell in love with Jamaica. I literally
All right,
cried
you
like
went
when I
there to
was
find
leaving.
Winston.
Uh-huh.
Stella got our groove back. That's what I think. But when I
Right, right, right. Talk about that offline. I'm kidding. No, Jamaica was so dope. Oh my God. I just felt at home, the hospitality, the food, the vibe. I was much younger too. I was in my early 20s, so I was outside. Yeah, Jamaica, I was like, what? And it was an all-inclusive resort. It was absolutely amazing. I went for one of my friend's birthdays and we had a great time. And I was like, what? I want to do this in every country. So that was the first like Caribbean destination. Then for my 25th birthday, this was back in 2017, I went to Paris. So that was like, I felt like that was the first time that I was actually, even though Jamaica's obviously not a part of the United States, but I felt like that was my first time completely like in a different world. I remember my sister and I, it was pretty cool because we landed on my birthday, like at midnight. We were literally landing. So that was dope. We got to the hotel and my phone was dying and I'm like, oh, I need to plug my phone. And I'm like, wait, what are these outlets? I was like in a whole completely different world. And I was like, girl, you did not do your research. So that was like, Paris was the first destination that I felt like, wow, this is another world. And I just fell in love with, I'm huge into fashion. So I fell in love with Paris and I just wanted to just go see the whole world.
At least you got there before the bed bug epidemic.
Yes, yes. Thank God. We thank God for that.
Facts. And for those that don't know, so Paris, well, just Europe in general, more so Paris. they got some new things that's coming down the pipeline with that visa and
Mm.
how to enter the country. And for those that don't know, I always like to raise awareness as well. For those that don't know how to find information on countries, besides using social platforms, you can go to state.gov, and
.gov, yep.
state.gov will take you pick a region, and
Yep.
you can go to that country. It'll give you a rating on the safety, what to do if they have any visa requirements, any shots, COVID requirements, whatever. That's a good source, good resource for you to go to. So make sure y'all check out state.gov. You know, somebody probably never asked this question to you. It's kind of like a two-part question, and
Mm-hmm.
the first part of the question is like, how do you immerse yourself in a culture whenever you go somewhere?
Mm-hmm.
And the second part of this question is kind of combined because I think it's funny because we talked about Afro-Latina, and when you go to these Latin countries, do you sometimes sit back and act like you don't understand Spanish, and then when you hit them with Spanish, they get surprised? Because that's what happens with me. Even though I'm not fluent yet, I can understand everything, and I can respond within the best of my realms. And then it
Mm-hmm.
shocks them like, oh, hablas español? Sí,
Right, right.
claro que sí. Yeah. So
You're
how
like, what you
have you ever had an experience like that? Like while you've been traveling to some of these Latin countries?
Okay, so to answer your first question, how do I immerse myself in the culture? It goes back to young Kayla. Like I've always known the places. Well, for starters, I want to visit the whole world, right? So it's only a matter of which destination I'm going to next. But when I was making my list as a young girl, I've always, you know, saw on TV, big on soap operas, reading books, and I'm like, oh, that's how they do that in their culture. And it just sparked my interest even more. So, like, for example, when I went to Dubai, I followed the rules and regulations. I was not dressing as revealing. So I just try to respect that. I also like to book activities and excursions with locals. So whether that's a cooking class, I recently went to Brazil in April and we did a dance class. They don't call it Zumba, it's Samba. So that was pretty cool too. And I got to meet locals. There's also the walk-in tours that they can bring you around the city. And just truly, I also too, I love, like, I only stay at hotels. I don't like Airbnbs or hotels or anything like that. But sometimes even staying in a hotel that's in a local area, I know some people may consider that unsafe. But I mean, at the end of the day, no matter where you are, if something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. So I'm not one of those people. I was like, oh, I'm not going because it's not safe. But yeah, even staying in like a local community, going to the supermarket, I try to really, I also try to learn the language. So when I went to Brazil, Portuguese is very similar to Spanish, so I knew some of the words, but I also was practicing a little bit of Portuguese. And when they see you trying, they open up more to you. They appreciate that. They respect you more for that. So, yeah, those are just some ways that I try to connect with the locals and with the culture and showing respect because you are in their country, you are in their territory, their property. So, as long as you show them love and respect, they'll give that to you back in return. So that's the first question.
That was a gem. Cause I think a lot of people don't understand the power of that damn passport. That blue book that
For
America
sure.
has. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the most powerful passport, right?
That's true.
But it's like top five. It's like
For
top five.
sure. For sure.
You
We're
know?
privileged. For sure.
Right, right. So when
Yeah.
people see that passport, they already gonna give us the what I call the red carpet treatment.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
automatically gonna give us that red carpet
Yeah. Yeah.
automatically. Wow, that's amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
and
So
having manners goes a long way. Like I
yeah,
always make sure I learn thank you in the language, and I appreciate you. I appreciate that. Like just telling them those things, they really appreciate that. It makes a difference.
definitely, definitely. So you talked about guys. I don't want to skip that. So what's your way to find activities whenever you traveling domestically or internationally? Like what's some apps or what's some websites that you use to be able to find activities where where you go?
Wait, before we answer that, I want to answer your second question about if I ever
Okay, all
pretend
right.
that if
Gotcha,
I ever
gotcha,
pretend that
gotcha.
I
Oh
don't
yeah,
speak
yeah, we
Spanish.
skipped that. Thank you for keeping me in
No,
line.
that's
Thank you for
that's a
keeping me in check.
good question. Yeah, that's a good question. So no, I never. I'm trying to think. So I've been to like Spain. I've been to Mexico, El Salvador. I've never pretend that I don't speak the language, but when I speak it, some people are taken back and surprised. But surprisingly, when I went to El Salvador, so I always travel with braids. There's no way you're gonna catch me traveling with a silk press. I don't got time for that. So I always travel with my braids. And when I went to El Salvador, it was my one of my friends and I. We were having dinner, and I had long braids. I felt someone like doing like this, and I'm like, who is touching me? And it was a little girl. She was so like amused and impressed with my braids, and I started talking to her in Spanish, and then she's like, and she just gives me a hug, and I'm like, oh, okay. So that took me back a little bit, and then like it was her mom, her aunts, and her cousins, because I was talking to them, and they asked to take pictures with me, and I was like, okay, sure. So that was a little different experience. I've never experienced that. But yeah, when it comes to Spanish speaking countries, I never pretend that I don't know how to speak the language. I want them to feel comfortable, and I want them to be more welcoming. So yeah, I straight from the bat, I just start speaking in Spanish, and yeah, they're always impressed and taken back for sure.
Were you taken back? Were you taken back? Actually, El Salvador is my first country I ever visited internationally.
Yeah, I
Uh,
love it out there.
yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Were you taken back by the visa? Did it like take you back? Because like when I first got there, I was like 12. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
bet. Like
Well, I
I was
had
like,
already
okay,
done my research.
yeah,
So,
I didn't.
yeah,
I didn't.
I already had done my research. So I was like, oh, that's what's up. Cool. And when we got there, we probably landed like at 10, 11 a.m. There was like no line. No line. For me,
Oh
that's a
yeah,
great
you was
sign.
Gucci.
As soon
Yeah,
as I land and there's no crazy line and the customs immigration, I'm like, yeah, it's about to be a great trip. So, yeah, we were in and out quick.
got you. For all the places that you visited so far, like what's your top three? Your top three countries that you
Oh,
truly
that's
enjoyed.
hard.
You know what? Better yet, I'm gonna let you sizzle on that one. I'm gonna ask you this: what's a country that like surprised you? Like a lot of times, you know what you're gonna get when you go to Mexico, depending on when you go
Mm-hmm.
Cancun. You know what you're gonna get.
Right, right.
You know what you're gonna get when you go to Jamaica. You know
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to now. People know what they get in El Salvador because it's starting to become a hub for travel
Right.
creators to go to.
Yep.
But like these other countries that and I've seen you've been to some European countries as well that we're going to talk
Mm-hmm.
about. But what country like truly surprised you that you didn't expect for it to be so dope?
Brazil.
Come on,
Brazil. Brazil, like I went in with a high expectation, but when I tell you it like exceeded times 100, I was like, whoa, I've never experienced. It's like when you experience a new, brand new, healthy love. I was like, wait a minute, what is this? Brazil blew me away. I plan on going back next year again. It was, from the food, the hospitality, so much to do. It was just I was there 10 days, and I was only supposed to be there 8 days, and I ended up changing my flight because I wanted to stay for an extra 2 days. That's how much it blew my mind. Brazil is absolutely dope. It's a huge country. I was only in Rio, but I want to go back because they have Salvador out there too and other different areas that I want to explore. But yeah, Brazil is definitely one that blew my mind, and El Salvador too. El Salvador, and maybe this is because growing up, sometimes, we are a little bit ignorant in our mindset. So you think of Central America and you're like, oh, it's more on the poor side and they don't really have a lot to offer to travelers. But when I went to El Salvador, I was like, wow, there's really a lot to do. The hospitality was also amazing. The food was delicious. So yeah, I think those two. And let me name a third one. Yeah, because Belize took me over. Yeah, Belize was like the
come on.
food. I feel like out of all the countries I visited, Belize probably had one of the best foods, like top of the top. Belize also took me back by surprise. And Belize is considered kind of like half Central America, half Caribbean. So
Hmm.
seeing all of the different types of people, like it was just dope. Belize was amazing, and I feel like it's underrated. A lot of more
Yeah, and
people
they
need to
their
go out
primary
there.
language is English for people that don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Belize is the
yep.
only country in Central America. Their
Mhm.
first language is English. Um, and they also speak Creole, which I speak Creole as well. I'm
Oh,
being from
okay.
Louisiana, I speak Creole.
And they
Yeah,
speak
so
Spanish too. I met a
yeah.
few people who speak Spanish and Belize.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so it's a mixture, man. Shout out to
yeah.
Jet Set Jose. Shout out to the homie. He just got married maybe like a month and a half ago, man. I'm so
Oh,
proud of
so
you. I wish you and your beautiful wife love and success. But when I had him
congrats.
on early in the show, he was telling me how Belize was a sleeper. So you like the second
Mhm,
person to bring up Belize.
mhm.
I gotta check it out. I'll be heading. I think I told you I'll be heading to Panama, here next week. So I'm looking forward to
Oh,
that
I want
trip.
to go to Panama.
Yeah, I'm going next week,
Yeah.
so I'm excited about that. And shout out to countries where the currency is the U.S. dollar. So for those
Mm-hmm.
that and we're gonna talk about that too as well for the people that may be on the fence. But for those that are just now getting into the travel game, okay, like if you're nervous about certain things, you may not know the language, but if you can go to a country where the currency is a U.S. dollar, you don't have to worry about
So
converting
much
your
easier.
currency over or anything like that, like El Salvador, Panama, those two
Mm-hmm.
places. Depending on where you're at, like when I was in Peru, they preferred the U.S. dollar. They take solas, but they prefer
Yeah,
the U.S.
yeah,
dollar. So that's that's
yeah.
that's dope. That's absolutely amazing. I already know this. How were the pupusas?
Oh my God, the pupusas were amazing. Let me tell you something. So I rented a car just because I wanted to drive an hour and a half to this specific spot to get the pupusas, and it was worth it. The lady, the owner, she actually had me and my friend make the pupusas, so it was dope. It was a dope experience. They're such sweet people, very kind hearted. So definitely
Man, that's
would
great.
recommend El Salvador.
That's great. Do you have do you have a dedicated airline that you choose, or are you more so I find the deal, I book the deal, or you try to accumulate points? Shout out to I put these colors on purpose. Shout out to Spirit Airlines. Shout out
What?
shout
I
out to
know you
Spirit.
lying. I
Shout out
know you lying.
Shout out to Spirit. When your boy first started this travel game, y'all were good to your boy. Now I done upgraded to American and United. And shout out to Delta as well. Cause I'm
Love
this close,
Delta.
guys. I'm this close to being silver medallion member. I'm this close.
Ooh, you
I'm like
fancy.
two
You
I'm like
fancy.
two I'm like $204 away from being a silver medallion member, if y'all don't know. That come with
Fancy,
perks.
fancy. Okay, for starters, I don't fly Spirit. Um, I'm a loyal girl, so I love JetBlue, Southwest. The two free check bags, they got me on a chokehold with that one. So JetBlue, Southwest, Delta, those are my top three. For international, I love Emirates. I love Egypt Air. Those are my top two. But yeah, but if I were to find like a good deal, like with like I flew American to Brazil. United, I haven't flown with United in years, but if I was to find a really dope deal, I will go with them. I do always recommend people to sign up for all of the rewards because you just never know when you're gonna find a deal or maybe something, traveling can be very unpredictable. Something may happen when you're away and you have
Mhm.
to find a way home. So make sure you're already signed up for the rewards and just in case you have to, find a different airline. But yeah, those are my top ones. My
Got
top
you,
ones.
got you. Now you gotta give us because I feel like you're the person we need to go to get these gems on Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. Give us some spots. Give us some spots. We can start off with your mom's side. Let's start off with Puerto Rico. What's some spots that's like it don't even have to be off the unbeaten path that maybe some people miss whenever they
Hmm.
go to Puerto Rico, or some spots that you like to go to. Let's just start there. Like, what's some spots you like to go to, whether they be activities or places to eat, things to do,
Hmm.
see. What's there? I never been, and for a person
You
that
never been to Puerto Rico?
no, I never been. I
Oh
never
my
been.
God, you have to go. So, okay, let me start off by saying this. When it comes to Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic, for me, even though it feels like a vacation, it's also home. So I just started, maybe a few years ago, I just started like acting like a tourist in Puerto Rico and in DR. But with Puerto Rico, please do yourself a favor and leave San Juan. Number one, San Juan, they robbing you. Everything is so much more expensive in San Juan, and there's a lot more other. We call them pueblos, which are the towns to go and explore. Go to Patillas, go to Jabucoa. That's where my family's from. There's tons and tons of restaurants. Go to Cagua. Cagua, they actually have a food park. So you go, you walk up into the park, and there's a whole bunch of different food trucks. Oh my God, there's so much. Loiza, if you want to tap into Afro-Latinos, Loiza is the spot. Aguadilla, they have one of the most beautiful beaches. Just to name a few, we actually have like private island, Culebra.
Mhm.
That's absolutely beautiful too. You have to take a ferry there. Yeah, so please leave San Juan, explore. Puerto Rico, they're huge on Airbnbs, and now I don't know if you know or not, but Puerto Rico really became a top destination during COVID. So COVID actually did good for Puerto Rico. The world was closed. It was hard to go to all these different countries. Puerto Rico was one of the top ones open, even though upon arrival you had to get tested and all that. But when 2020 happened, and even throughout 2021, so many people visited PR, and that's really what's helping the island. So, any activities that you find in Europe or in different countries, you can find it in Puerto Rico as well. That like famous hand that they have in Guatemala, they have it, I believe,
Yeah.
in Albania too. They have it in a few different countries. Puerto Rico has it now too. Puerto Rico in January, they opened up Dinner in the Sky, which is called fly dining. So they are coming up with a whole lot of different things. Yeah, Puerto Rico is dope. It's a dope little island. It's small, and you can rent a car and tour the island. But 10/10 recommend.
You know, it's very. This is just a comment. It's not a question. It's very interesting to see the similarities, like in because I noticed that for those that don't pay attention to flags, I'm a nerd. But when it comes to like Puerto Rico and Cuba, like it's some historical value there. I won't dive into it because
Yeah,
I don't
even
really
our
know the
flag,
history
our
of it.
flags,
But it's
our flags look the same. Well, look
yeah,
similar. Our flags are the same, just with a different color
it's
tone.
very
Yeah,
similar. It's very
yeah,
similar. So man, shout out
yeah.
to Puerto Rico, man. All right, let's shift gears to DR, man. No, which is
Ooh,
another popular spot. Actually, DR
yes,
is the top most traveled country
for
as of last year.
sure. Yep,
DR, yeah.
yep. So with DR, obviously, Punta Cana is amazing. I wouldn't recommend skipping it. I always feel like everyone should experience Punta Cana. Is dope. There's so much to do there. But I will also recommend the capital, Santo Domingo. Santo Domingo is actually a little bit more modern. It's become a little bit Americanized in the sense of the same things that you see here. They fixed the highway because a lot of people go there for business. But Santo Domingo is a great spot. Puerto Plata, we have Cap Cana, which the beaches are absolutely beautiful. Santiago, that's our second capital. Higüey, that's, if you're into God and spirituality, Higüey, they have La Basilica, which is similar to La Sagrada Familia in Spain. So you can really go there and connect with God. DR is just endless opportunities. There's a restaurant. I'm gonna get you the name so you can put it in the description in Santo Domingo that's inside a cave, which is it looks dope. I haven't been, but it looks absolutely dope. So if you're into like unique activities, DR is definitely the place for you. Try to explore out of Punta Cana, and yeah, enjoy.
They got a cave in Punta Cana that I didn't get a chance to go to. I forgot the name of it though.
A
They
restaurant?
got one in Punta Cana too. Yep, they got one in
Did
Punta
you
Cana.
did you do the what activities you did in Punta Cana?
It was a short trip. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking
Mm.
like I only stayed for a few days. So
Oh, you
the
gotta go
most I
back.
did, the most I did was I did the boat tour and I went to that
Oh, you
party.
definitely need that.
Yeah, the party island. I did parasailing. Um, and I walked around like the inner cities of Punta Cana. And honestly, that was it. I didn't even get a chance to go to that cave club
Yeah.
outside. Honestly, guys, I'm sorry, I forgot the name of it. When
Yeah,
I get
no,
the
in Punta
name, I'll be
Cana
sure
we
to share
have
it.
Cocobongo, which is right next to that's like one of the top nightclubs if you're into partying. That's right next to Dinner in the Sky. There's Monkey Land, which is super cool. There's Swimming with the Dolphins. Yeah, Punta Cana has it all. So you definitely need to go back.
Hmm. Yeah, I gotta
There's
go back.
also too, the famous swing in Bali. So we
Yeah.
have something similar in Punta Cana. It's called Montaña Redonda. So you actually have to either hike or take a car up the hill, and they have a similar swing. So that's
Okay.
pretty cool
All right.
too.
Actually, I got a few colleagues I know that own restaurants in Sosua. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, he owns two restaurants.
beautiful,
He owns a chicken and
beautiful.
waffle spot in Sosua, and he just opened
Dope.
up. Shout out to Cordell Beasley, man. He's doing his thing at DR. Shout out to my boy, man. He also opened up a pizza place called Sliced DR.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
dope. Yeah,
Shout out to
DR
him,
is
man.
especially Punta Cana is a great place for business. I'm actually getting into real estate. So we have a family home in our town, but I want to venture out from that, and I want to get into real estate in Punta Cana because like you said, it's the top destination. You will always be
Hmm.
making money. Get yourself a rental property You can visit wherever you want, rent it out all year long, and you'll definitely be able to make good money.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Speaking of money, speaking of business, entrepreneur to entrepreneur, um, how do you feel? To me, and that's a part of travel too as well, right? And we could talk about the open mindedness of travel and why you need to be open minded whenever you travel to these
Mm-hmm.
different countries to be open to accept cultures. But it seems like, and I'm getting that vibe from you, it seems like you also travel to look for opportunities as well.
For
Like,
sure.
what can I do to start here? How can I invest in this country? How
Yes.
easy it is for me to get a visa to invest in this country. I know that's what I do, and you seem like that type too. That's why
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
smiling.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
For sure.
that's dope.
So, DR too, to mention, I like one of my top dreams for DR, I want to open up a school. So I'm currently, my dad was born and raised in DR, so getting a visa for me is a lot easier because I could get it through him. So I want to get that, get citizenship, not a visa, citizenship. So I can have dual citizenship with American and Dominican. And yeah, one of my dreams is to open up a school in DR and the rental property. And yeah, just like you, everywhere I go, like Belize is also a great place for investment. I actually met some people at the resort where I was staying, an older couple, and they were going back probably like a month after we left to go and invest. Like Belize is growing tremendously. So that's also a great destination to buy property or just, you don't even, I think people overthink the whole real estate. You don't even have to buy it. You don't have to own it. You can talk with the actual owner and you can rent that out as an Airbnb. So definitely look into that when you travel, look into opportunities. I always like to talk to locals, talk to business owners, not only to collab in content creation, but to just get to know them on a personal level and know their story so we can connect on a business level.
And for those that don't know, learning the language, that's the cheat code, guys. That's the cheat
For
code that
sure.
everybody wants to skip. Oh, it's too hard. Okay. Just like
Yep.
when you first started off, English wasn't easy to us in the beginning. You just got to
That
keep pushing.
exactly.
A lot of people sleep on Duolingo. A lot of people say it's trash, but I talked
Hmm.
about this in the previous episode. Duolingo gives you the basic vocabulary that you need to at least get yourself started. For you to, how can you speak the language if you don't even know the nouns?
Right,
The
right.
sample phrases.
Yeah.
So man, look, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead on and drop Duolingo. This is my second time giving y'all a shout out. I'm gonna talk to y'all agents. Y'all gonna sponsor the episode, all right? But I'm gonna drop that link in the description as well for y'all to go ahead on and download the app for those that don't have it, man. It's a good way to truly expand. I wanna.
Nothing's impossible. Nothing's
Oh
impossible. It,
yeah,
it
yeah,
just comes
definitely.
down to how bad do you want it.
Definitely, definitely. And I want to bring it full circle now, because your content is not just travel. You're not ashamed of, right? You got a lot of shameful Christians, shameful people
Mm.
that don't really want to broadcast their religion and what they love and their faith. But how can travel? Since this is a travel show, how can travel also grow your faith as well? Like just going to these different places, how can travel, grow a stronger relationship with your faith and with God?
Thank you for that question. I love that. For starters, yeah, I'm definitely not ashamed. I love God above anything and anyone, and you will always catch me talking about God. And when I say God, Jesus Christ, because people call God many different things, right? So, I always make it a point. For me, I at home I have a morning routine, which includes prayer, journaling, and pretty much just spending that quiet time with God. So I bring that routine on vacation. Like I recently posted my first girls trip in July. We took a cruise to the Bahamas, and that routine is non-negotiable. I think that we have to always keep in mind we're here because of God. We're able to enjoy his creations. We're able to travel. Like I don't take that lightly. The fact that he's given me the funds to travel, he's given me the freedom. I'm able to see his beautiful creations. So I always practice that gratitude. Also, too, I recommend, even if you can't book a solo trip, just have that alone time with yourself. Even if you're in a girls trip, family trip with your significant other, just have that time for yourself where you can practice gratitude, where you can pray, where you can journal, where you can talk to God. You will really learn how to not only appreciate your life because you get to travel, but just appreciate the little things. Appreciate that you are alive, appreciate that you can walk and board a plane versus having to get on a plane on a wheelchair. It really comes down to the little things. Oh yeah,
Wow.
that's non-negotiable for me. I always say I want to go on vacation and take a break from the world, but I'm not taking a break from God. So I'm still
There
connecting
you
with
go.
God.
That's a bar. Say that again. That's a bar. You know what? We need to put that on the t-shirt. Episode
Right?
31. We need to put that on the. You think I'm lying? I'm gonna get you to say it too after the after the show over with.
Yeah, just because you go on vacation, just because you take a break from, I actually did a reel on this. Just because you take a break from the world, it does not mean you take a break from God. That's when you connect with God the most. I recently went to Orlando and it was strictly to disconnect and connect with my father. You
Man, this is dope. I am gonna get your consent after this video. All right. All right, this going on a t-shirt. I'm just telling you now.
They heard it here first, right?
Episode 31. You already signed the intellectual property agreement. You told me.
Right. I didn't see that in the fine print.
For those, and I always like to like bring the episode full circle. For those people that are on the fence about just traveling, whether it be domestic or international, what's some encouraging words that you can give them to get them over that fence, to take that leap, to just go out there and explore?
Don't let people tell you about the world. Go out and see it for yourself. Wait for no one. Do it alone, do it scared, because if you wait for the right time, you're never going to do anything. And that's just not just with traveling, that's with life in general. Just go out there, get started, have a plan. Even if you don't know where to go first, write down the things that you love. For example, maybe you love fashion, go to Paris. Maybe you love food and culture, that's Belize. Maybe you want to connect with God, Spain is great for that. So just, I would say, make a list of the things you love and be able to narrow it down and do your research. If you do your research and you go in it with an open mind and definitely pray about it, you will be able to explore and enjoy traveling in the world.
Definitely, that's a bar.
And also too, traveling is accessible for everyone. Is a mindset. So many people, their mindset is stagnant. Oh, I when I travel and I come back to my corporate job, people are always telling me, "Oh, I wish I can do that." And I'm like, "No, but you can." Like, what's stopping you?
Yeah.
All you gotta do is make it a priority. I have this rule for myself that I always put money in my travel fund. That's like paying a bill. The same way that I pay my cell phone bill, my mortgage, that's non-negotiable. So it's non-negotiable for me to pay myself for my travel fund. I prioritize travel, and that's how I'm able to explore so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And travel is not expensive, by the way. I just
It's
want to point that
not.
out to people.
It's not.
It's not. You can skip, and if y'all don't see, I got those donks in the background. If you don't, save on those, or instead make some coffee at the house instead of going to Starbucks every day.
Ladies, do your own
Certain things,
lashes.
certain
I do
foods.
my own lashes. I do my own nails. Like, invest in a trade that they could save you money. Also too, I love that the airlines have shopping portals. So I shop a lot on the JetBlue shopping portal, on the Southwest, Delta. They all have it. And it's things that I'm buying for my house, necessities. I have to buy them regardless. So why not buy them and earn points towards the airlines that I love, and I could travel more.
Definitely, definitely, man. Shout out to Delta, man. United, American, and some and these budget airlines as well. Because sometimes those airlines are the ones that really spark the exploration in people.
Mm-hmm.
It may take you longer to get there. You might have to spend a little bit more on bag fees, and
Right,
you might
right.
not get snacks or drinks. You know,
Or a comfy seat.
and sitting in smaller seats. But
Right.
hey,
You're like this. You better like your neighbor because he's gonna be all up on you.
but you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there, man. Oh man,
Also,
Keila, I
too.
really do appreciate you for having you on. I do want to take this time for you to blast out anything you want to blast out. How can we support you? How can we support your business, your social handles? How can we follow you? How can we continue to support you, in your journey?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for that. Before I get into that, I just want to mention one last thing. It's important to familiarize yourself with the airline partners. That way you can be able to transfer points from airline to airline and travel more. Because sometimes you think
Mhm.
in those budget airlines you're flying with a cheap airline, but really they're operated by JetBlue. So keep that in mind. Familiarize yourself with the partners. Okay, and now for the business. Oh, thank you for that. They can follow me in my personal page, Life with Keila Marie. They can follow my business page. It's called We Are Women of Wealth, which I coach women on how to grow their faith, how to travel the world, and how to unlock multiple streams of income. So I'm huge on freedom, even though I am a corporate girl. I pretty much work remote, and I still like my traveling, my me time, my self care is non negotiable. I've been with my company for 11 years. I'm a leader in the healthcare. So I am huge on that. And I'm also, I haven't shared it with the public, but I'll share it here. I am working on opening a travel shop. So I have a separate travel page, but I am converting that into a travel shop, and that is Travel with K. Inc. The name will be changing, but for now, it's that.
All right. First of all, we're not gonna pass the point that uh being a corporate person, okay? Because I want to share this too. I'm glad you brought that up. Is because the world of social media will make you think that working a 9 to 5 is just the most horrible thing in the world to do.
Wait, you're gonna have to repeat that. I didn't hear the whole thing.
Oh no, you fine. I was talking about the corporate lifestyle. Like we're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
miss that. Like a lot of like social media makes people think that you know working a 9 to 5 is just a horrible
Yeah,
thing to do, and it's not. You can be a 9 to 5er like myself,
absolutely,
right? And still have a
absolutely.
podcast, still in
Mm-hmm.
real estate, still have businesses, and still travel the world
For
because
sure.
it's different ways. And I may do a seminar on this. It's ways that you can use your corporate job to set up your vacations throughout the year to where you'll be surprised how many
Yeah,
vacations you can take if you break it up around these holidays. But I just
for
wanted to
sure.
share that as well. Just wanted to share that
don't
as well.
don't limit yourself. There's so many opportunities out there. You can do and be whoever you want to be. Do not let
Definitely,
society try to dictate that.
definitely. Well, Miss Keila, I really do appreciate you having you on. So many gems have been dropped, and looking forward to collaborating with you in the future too. This won't be the
For
only
sure.
project that we do. Maybe we can get back on and do a live on IG or TikTok or
Yeah, that'd be
whatever
dope.
you got going on. I already told you outside of the studio, you family now, so any type
Period.
of content that you want to promote on the Melanated Traveler. Y'all be sure to follow Keila. Also, be sure for those that are just now listening to make sure that you follow the Melanated Travelers Instagram page. Also, you can follow the video podcast interviews go up on the YouTube channel, the Melanated Traveler. All social handles at the Melanated Traveler. Again, I really do appreciate you for coming on. Y'all already know my motto. I'll see you at the top because the bottom is just too crowded.
Yeah.
Peace.